Hello, everyone. Thanks for the joining in and taking time out from your busy schedule. My name is Anis Merchant, and I'm from Blue Ocean Market Intelligence, a leading global analytics and an insight organization. Blue Ocean, as a company, have been in the industry for the last 15 years now and have many of the large organizations to achieve their data and insight goals. I'm happy to see the growing interest level from the industry on today's topic of how to tell effective storytelling by leveraging data. Data visualization, storytelling, big data management have become the buzzwords in media today. Data is getting bigger as we speak, and organizations are still trying to figure out how best to leverage it. Technology is evolving and making it easier to source, store, manage, and leverage the data. When it comes to leveraging the data for providing answers to why and what for the business, individuals fail to tell an effective story. Storytelling is often resorted to bar and pie charts or restricted by the capabilities of the platform or an individual knowledge. We at Blue Ocean Market Intelligence, over the years, working with global customers, have developed a unique 7-step approach to effectively tell story by leveraging data. While working with organizations and individuals, I have personally seen that when it comes to visualization or storytelling, often than not, individuals start immediately working on creating charts or tables or other forms of visuals to tell a story, which in their mind is a story. Yes, we have the business stakeholders or executives demanding quick and effective answers to some key business questions or situations. But we should ensure that we treat this exercise as similar to directing a movie. There are various facets involved in putting together a great movie, but at the same time, I don't want to imply or overly complicate the process of data storytelling exercise. Remember, each movie has an effective outcome or has key individuals who play different parts as the movie builds up. If one follows the laid out process, definitely he or she would have success in telling an effective story. Organizations and individuals fall into the trap of production without cause, simply churning out dashboards or visualization and not answering the why or what of your data objective. Let's take an example of a large technology client who wants to drive customer upsell and cross-sell programs and is looking for online channel insights to help devise an appropriate strategy. While the client has already identified a primary objective, it is important to probe even deeper. For example, at a customer level, you would want to ask what type of customer, is it B2B or B2C? Additionally, which segments and which regions? Second, what type of cross-sell and upsell program? Is it pertaining to products or a broad category? And when we want to talk about online channel, what type of channel you want to target? And is it focusing on which customer channels would you want to focus on? A point to note over here, storytelling is a learning exercise for most, and the goal should be to improve with every iteration. It is easy to get distracted from the most important goal in storytelling, that is, from whom are you doing this exercise for? I have personally seen this many times where individuals have forgotten who would be consuming this piece of art and overcomplicate the output. One cannot treat all users or recipients in the same bucket and hope that they get the outcome of the story. For example, there are certain executive level outputs which would be required that would be important for the executive team. However, for a line manager, the same information would be nice to have, as he would need more details on his or her specific department. So it is important to ensure that you clearly map out your key stakeholders who would require the story to be consumed, and also you know their roles and the key measurements they are focusing on. It is key to define measurements at the start of any engagement. They can determine how the hypothesis or business questions will be answered and for whom. Part of the measurement selection process, teams or individuals should look at what measures are available in the organization, and at the same time, what are the external best practices which can be leveraged for answering the hypothesis. The tendency to look within the organization only needs to change and ensure one follows the industry best practices and is able to drive the selection process effectively. A pitfall to avoid here would be in failing to match metrics to the goal. Data stories are stronger and more impactful when they connect to larger business objectives. Don't fall into the trap of creating stories or visualizations that improperly reflect how key measures within the two different departments impact the success of the organization as a whole. And another pitfall to avoid at this stage is using measurements that no one understands. While showing and labeling measurements is one way which might make sense to you, there are meaningful, and the question you need to ask, is it meaningful to the larger organization and including your stakeholders? Make sure the measurements not only support the objectives of the exercise, but also make sense to all your viewers. More often than not, measurements are considered, but how they are calculated or what would it take to deliver on the execution is ignored. This can add a level of confusion when industry measures are being considered. For example, customer churn, since the derivative can be different from the industry benchmarks, leading to authenticity doubts. The measurement process can differ from organization to organization, depending on the availability of the inputs, process, or calculation methodology, and how the data is being sliced, for example, periods or category. One thing to note in this step is to presume that rolling out an output is a once and done exercise. If you don't check in with your stakeholders to validate the metrics, determine the relevancy, and update the data, it won't get used or worse, lead to poor decisions. Hence, it becomes important to keep recurring meetings with the stakeholders to gauge usage and data quality. Organizations can collect all or any data, but when it comes to leveraging it for the right business questions, it is important to ensure data relevancy. For example, if one is looking to measure Net Promoter Score, also known as NPS, simply using any survey or data source that comes close to a NPS question shouldn't be considered. It is critical to identify which data sources are aligned and then check their reliability. Not all data within the data stores may be present, or the quality may be a suspect. It is important to accurately document how the data will be processed in different dimensions, facts and measures, to ensure the right techniques in arriving at the measurement. This step is also critical to understand how items such as data security and quality need to be considered when processing the data. This step ensures to solve most of the business questions which individuals would have in an organization on how a measurement is calculated and what are the things to note in the process. Many organizations find they are not able to derive an accurate measurement and end up building proxy metrics since they can't retrieve the data from the source systems due to IT or data security concerns, B, lack of skill sets to extract the data, C, time limitations, or the system limitations itself. Though it should be noted that all the organizational items or teams have the opportunity to follow a thoughtful process and may deviate. While most know what problems they would like to solve for, sometimes it is not as easy to know exactly what they need. For example, when looking at the first iteration of the story, it can often bring about additional hypotheses, questions, or changes that lead to churn and frustration on both the ends. The best way to avoid is to involve all stakeholders in the process at every level and conduct pilot reviews on the interim results to gather feedback. This ensures a sense of ownership and responsibility in the program success. And more importantly, it also involves and reduces churn when it comes to data retrieval and setting up the right processes and the data structures required to store the data and process the data. While we laid out the key 7 steps, there are few additional items to consider while embarking on the story crafting journey. The key here is to be nimble and agile while doing it structurally. If you demonstrate the process to your internal stakeholder, they would be overwhelmed. But if you show the output and then demonstrate the process you followed, what you would have a greater sense of efforts put into the overall exercise, and there will be more buy-in for the overall process from the stakeholders, and they would more than happy to participate in all the future exercises. Smart organizations today want to know the story behind any key business questions. The days of using traditional charts or tables are long gone. It is all about presenting the right customer experience and the story. And the story need not be in a form of a traditional PowerPoint or any other form of visual content, but it can be a single picture which can tell the entire story of the objective which you're trying to solve for. Often than not, team setting up and the team involved in the right storytelling exercise is often ignored. And organizations and executive team often push the process of storytelling to individuals who may or may not have the right skill sets to go ahead and deliver the right story. Setting up the right team to deliver against these business objectives is a key ingredient of a good storytelling program. Some ideal members who should be part of the team are a program manager who manages the overall program and the initiative. The person can also play the role of the business analyst. The second role is of a data modeler who can take raw data, process it, and create data models required for the program. The third individual on the team should be ideally a business analyst who can collaborate with the business users to draw the hypothesis and define the requirements. And the last group should be ideally visualizers and the user experience team. These team members take the information from the business analysts, carve out stories, and weave them together in the respective storytelling technologies or outputs. The team should have an individual with the user experience or the design background. The designer will be able to add visual dimensions and challenge conventional ways of presenting data or insights. Even if the dashboard has the relevant measures and it is visually engaging, viewers of the dashboards will have their own unique questions, timelines, or desires based on their own experiences or responsibilities. So it is important that you design stories in such a way that users can interact easily and find answers to the key business questions on their own. Interactive stories or visualizations enable your viewers to perform basic tasks such as filtering views, adjusting parameters, and drilling down to examine underlying data, so that the entire process involves intuitive selections on the overall visualization. Providing this interactivity equips stakeholders with the ability to go from a macro to a micro view of the data so that they can make better decisions and derive insights in a matter of 1 or 2 clicks. Holding on to data to a team is like a level A crime in this DNA age of data evolution and technology evolution. It does not matter if you have mastered all the steps mentioned previously, as no one would ever realize the benefits of a great data strategy or the entire big data strategy in an organization if they cannot get to it or leverage it for business decisions. Distribution of data or story totally depends upon the business stakeholders, and it is not stakeholders who are responsible for setting up the data and technology, but the actual business stakeholders who would be consuming the data. For example, executive team would prefer something which is mobile friendly, whereas an operation analyst would prefer something on their desktop or a laptop to conduct deeper studies. Hence, for an effective and the right storytelling program in an organization would be successful if there is a broader motive of getting the data out to the larger audience within the organization and is not confined to a specific group of people within the organization. Hence, when you look at technologies or when you look at solutions which can enable, or when you're trying to set up a team, it needs to be cross-functional first, and the technology should be able to scale to the larger set of audiences, and it is not cost prohibitive for you or the organization to go ahead and enable data democracy within the organization. Just a quick recap of today's conversation. I would like to re-emphasize on two things as key takeaways. It's a short presentation, and I didn't want to take the entire 1 hour. I know in some parts of the world it is actually the end of day, but I just wanted to share a quick recap of what I've covered. The first thing is, any individual needs to have a focused strategy on the data and the storytelling, and B, often individuals have this dilemma, and they should often avoid this dilemma that they should take on too much or they should work with little, and rather than, I would recommend, is focus on what is right for the business and the stakeholder community. And if you're able to follow these 7 steps, which we have recommended, definitely you will have a better success in crafting good stories for the organization as a whole. I thank you for your time and patience. If you have any questions or queries, I can take them right now.